Mr. Frattini, thank you very much for your time. We have a few questions. First of all, it's very interesting because you are a member of the committee for the Nursultan Nazarbayev Award for Nuclear Weapon-Free World. What, in your opinion, is the significance of this award?
Well, the significance is very high. First of all, because it recognizes the strategic leadership of President Nazarbayev from the very beginning, when he decided to take a very important unilateral decision to dismantle the Kazakh nuclear arsenal, and also because your first president has been, I would say, following this visionary policy in the recent years. And so the fact that the prize is entitled to the name of President Nazarbayev in itself a message to the rest of the world. The second reason why it's so important prize is because the award is given to people that have been working concretely for reducing nuclear threat, working for a world free from nuclear weapons. So it is not just for people making promises, but people that achieved concrete results. For these two reasons, and for the fact that your country as a whole, including the role of the current president of Kazakhstan, has been always in the first line, the forefront, on all those countries fighting for reducing nuclear risk.
What kind of person do you think should be, for example, the next winners? What do you think about the potential candidates for this award?
It's absolutely difficult to say. For this moment, we focus on the current candidates, on those that tomorrow will be formally presented, introduced as the winners. As the next years, I think there should be a discussion, because there are those who are working now for the same goal. But frankly speaking, in the world of today, I don't see so many leaders that are really committed to achieve concrete results. So we will have to focus on those that are proving to be true leaders. Although it's difficult, although we have in mind a goal, the world free of nuclear weapons, that will be not achieved overnight, but we need to find real leaders. These are the difficulties that is the award committee is having in trying to select really good candidates.
For example, this year you had several nominees. Was it really difficult to choose between of them? Was it arguing?
It was quite difficult, but the committee took a decision that tomorrow will be presented publicly, and decision was based on the practical results achieved in concrete, not just making announcement, but people that have not only an experience, but have proven to be able to translate their experience into practice. This was the criterion. I'm very happy that all the members of the committee were in agreement on the same names.
What do you think about the Kazakhstan's contribution, and especially the contribution of the first president of Kazakhstan to nuclear disarmament in the world? How would you assess this?
Well, it is probably the most important example since the World War, because it took a decision after the end of the Cold War and the dissolution of the Soviet Union, but since the World War, when there was the nightmare, the catastrophic event of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, till now, the only real world leader that had the courage to take unilaterally a decision like that is President Nursultan Nazarbayev. Others have been following his example, but of course, the leader is the one who gives the guidance, and he was the one who gave the guidance.
What would be your argument in order to persuade the leaders of other countries to refuse using and having nuclear weapon?
It is extremely dangerous. the large majority of people in the world is against nuclear weapons, but unfortunately there is not yet enough awareness, especially among the younger generations, because the younger generation don't imagine to be potentially one day under the threat. If you speak to a young Korean student, he does. He has the feeling to be under threat because of North Korea. But if you speak to my compatriot in Italy, they fear about illegal migration, foreign fighters, terrorism, but they don't think about nuclear proliferation as a concrete threat. So the challenge is to explain to the younger generation, to educate the leaders of the future, in order to grow leaders able to say, well, this is a real risk, like President Nazarbayev had done many, many years ago, when nobody was aware about that. He said, okay, I dismantle my arsenals, not everybody's arsenal, but those that are in our territory. This was a unilateral decision. Those countries that are keeping nuclear arsenals are aware of the potential risks. They think to be able to keep them under control, but who knows? Who knows if an accident occurs, if a button is pushed by mistake, what happens? A catastrophe. This is the real risk.
Do you think that it's not like some countries should have it?
No countries should have. No countries. It's not possible to keep those countries that build national power on nuclear deterrence. Nuclear deterrence is a risk for humanity as a whole. Imagine the broader Middle East, proliferation in Iran, leading a counter-proliferation in Saudi Arabia and in Israel. What would happen in case of an accident? What could happen if some of the nuclear weapons fall in the hands of terrorism? Because in the Middle East there are terrorist organizations. If there are nuclear weapons on that territory, what could happen if, I would say, this kind of asymmetric threat will prove true by having, I would say, a chemical weapon or a nuclear weapon in the hands of Al-Qaeda or the Daesh? This would be a catastrophe. So this is another reason. Whoever believed to be able to control makes a mistake. Now, with the cyber security capacity, no nuclear system is not penetrable. Each and every system can be penetrated. So no illusions. Even the most powerful country in the world, United States, should have no illusions. This is a real risky game for the humanity.
How do you think the international organizations or some activists can persuade some governments to refuse from having nuclear weapons?
They have a role. We need a bottom-up approach. We need civil society much more proactive in spreading awareness about that, engaging the younger generations, engaging the civil society. The role of activists is very important. Why? Because at the end, the leaders, the members of the government, they rule a country because there are people that are voting for them. So if they are against a shared feeling in the population, they lose the election. So for ideality and for political interest, the government will have an interest to follow the big request coming from the civil society. The problem is there is not enough a big request from civil society.
Yeah, right.
We have to work on that.
Thank you very much for your time.
Many thanks.